Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः. We were looking at the arguments particularly advanced by the Nayayikas. So already Bhashyakara had addressed certain points raised by the Dvaitins. If you see before, couple of important questions they raised are that if you accept the oneness of Brahman, then the Upanishads themselves will be self-contradictory, and also whatever is revealed by the Upanishads will make the Karma Kanda as apramana. Whatever Karma Kanda is revealing will become meaningless and all that. Now both these points Bhashyakara addressed very intelligently, very interestingly in fact, by pointing out that a pramana only reveals its own field of revelation and it does not really contradict anything else, correct? That is what we say anadhigatam. Anadhigatam, abadhitam, like these two characteristics of a pramana are there. So taking that, Bhashyakara pointed out that the karma kanda is going along with the people who think that they are karta bhokta. They are anyway pursuing, other than Vaidika karma also, they are pursuing karma to fulfill their desires. So in keeping with that, the karma kanda is only showing what is desirable to achieve and how to achieve that. The means for desirable ends it is giving. It does not concern itself with the reality of all these things. Okay, that is not its subject matter at all, in fact. Similarly, the Upanishad's subject matter is teaching the Brahma Ekatvam. Therefore, it is only concerned about that. And it does not really make the Karma Kanda meaningless for those who think that they are Karta Bhokta. Understand that. Of course, those who are going to learn the Upanishad as a mumukshu, they have to understand the limitation of karma and get out of the notion that I am a karta, I am a bhokta. All these are only notions. In fact, they are wrong notions. So they have to be addressed. Therefore, Upanishads are only teaching this, and again, only very few people really even think that whatever Upanishads is teaching is relevant to them or it is even desirable to know that. So it's not that everybody, because Upanishad has said this, the pursuit for everybody else has become meaningless. It is not like that. Only for those who study the Vedanta as a mumukshu, whatever Upanishad is revealing is meaningful. So the pramana only reveals, in fact, that is another important point. It does not change anything else. If somebody is erroneously cognizing something, they keep on doing that. If they are not even using this pramana to address that erroneous cognition, their cognition is going to continue, correct? Their wrong notion will continue, and in keeping with that, they are going to do something, whatever they were already doing. Therefore, the pramana only reveals. It doesn't do anything more than that. Okay. Therefore, just because Upanishads have revealed the reality of oneself as Brahman, that doesn't stop others who do not understand themselves as Brahman from doing whatever they are doing. So this important point he made here, you can see Tasmat na Brahma Ekatvam Nyapayishyantaha Vedantaha Vidhishastrasya Badakaha. It does not negate the the Purva Kanda, which is giving different vidhis, different things to be done, mandates. And Nacha Vidhishastram Etavata Nirvishayam Syat. Just because Upanishad has revealed this Brahma Ekatvam, all the Purva Kanda, the Karma Kanda does not become like it doesn't have any subject matter to address or anything like that. Okay, it does not lose its subject or whatever it is revealing. And Napi Ukta Karakadi Bhedam Vidhishastram Upanishadam Brahma Ekatvam Prati Pramanyam Nivartayati. Similarly, just because the Karma Kanda is talking about karma and karakas, because karma means again there are factors of action are there. It is talking about all these things, how to do and what will be the results if you do something. All these things it is talking about. Just because it is talking about all that, we cannot say that the Upanishad has now become apramana or not a means of knowledge. That also is not true, because finally the important thing is what? Swavishaya shuranihi pramanani shrotradivat. So each means of knowledge is only concerned about its vishaya. Okay. So like the ears only reveal sound. That does not negate what is revealed by the eyes, correct? It cannot, in fact. What is revealed by the eyes is color, means only eyes are revealing color. That cannot be negated by ear also. So like that, each pramana is only concerned about its own field of revelation. It does not extend and have any position about other things. Okay, so this point he made, and then immediately as a continuation of this only, now Bhashyakara has gone to address the whatever points are raised by the Tarkikas, okay, or the Nayayikas, we can say, the logicians. So they think that they are all great wise people. So he is making fun of them here, Bhashyakara. In fact, he says, Tatra Panditam Manyaha Kechit. So some people think that they are all Panditas. They are great intellectuals. In fact, nowadays also a lot of people are there like that. Okay. So they have their own speculations, their own imaginations. So Swachitta Vashat, he says, Swachitta Vashat means here important point is what? They do not go by the Vaidika Pramana. They do not take Ved, although Tarkikas are supposed to accept Vedas also as a Pramana, Shabda also as a Pramana. Aptavakyam, they say. Shabda is Aptavakyam for them. A word which is coming from a reliable source, you can say. But still, they do not give primacy to that. So they go by their own thought. So that is why he says Swachitta Vashat. So they consider Sarvam Pramanam Itara Itara Viruddham Manyante. So one Pramana can contradict the other. Like this, they consider. Therefore, what they say that the Upanishads, whatever it is revealing, the Brahma Ekatvam, it is contradicting three things. In fact, we saw this last time itself, I think. One is they say that it is against sense perception, pratyakshadi virodham. Okay, so they ask all these questions. What? Because all these sense objects like sound are revealed to the sense organs like ear, correct? And they are all cognized as different cognitions, correct? Binnaha pratyakshate, pratyakshataha upalabhyante. So they are all cognized as different cognitions through these sense organs. All the sense objects which are revealed by the sense organs are cognized as different cognitions. Therefore, how can you say there is only oneness of Brahman? That is pratyaksha virodha, because Veda is established by pratyaksha. Similarly, tata shrotradibihi shabdadi upalabdharaha kartarastha dharmadharmayoho pratishariram binnaha anumiyante samsarinaha. Also, you can infer that there are many atmas are there, okay, according to them. Why? Because I myself, I am doing certain things, okay, using my body, mind, sense complex. So there is a certain cheshta is there, certain activity is there, I am doing, means I am the one who is responsible for all this action which is happening through my body, mind, sense complex. Similarly, other bodies also I see are having activities, means there has to be somebody who is actually impelling this body, mind, sense complex for those activities to take place, correct? Like that, I can do an anumana, they say. We can infer that like within this body, mind, sense complex, there is an indweller of the body who is responsible for all the activities in this body. Similarly, I am seeing other bodies which are also having similar activities. Therefore, there has to be another self as an indweller of those body, mind, sense complex also. Like this, we can infer. So Prati Sharira, and whatever they are doing only because of that dharma and adharma are produced, correct? Papa Punya. Like that also it is said. And they are all samsaris. They have sukha dukkha. So there are many people who are having sukha and dukkha. We see that. And from that we can do inference that there are many selves. So how can you say there is Brahman alone is there, which is yourself? That is not correct. And also finally they say Agama Virodha also is there. Whatever you are saying is contradicting the Shruti, because as usual they are quoting some Purva Kanda, or here it is Taittiriya Aranyaka here. So if you desire certain things, you have to do certain yajnas. So if you desire for a village, you do a particular yajna. If you desire a lot of pashu, you do a certain yajna. In fact, without doing any yajna, I am having a lot of pashus now. Just like that, we started some Goshala. Now everybody wants to donate cows. And more importantly, who is going to take care of the cows? Whoever is donating should also give for their maintenance. Otherwise, it becomes a problem, correct? And they are also multiplying every year. So anyway, I must have done something Purva Janma, I think. So a lot of pashus are there. If you want, if you really desire, you can do a yajna for that. Pashu kamaha yajeta, swarga kamaha yajeta. If you want to go to swarga, also you have to do certain yajna. Like this, different things are being talked about, even by the Shruti. So ityevamadi vakyabhyaha grama pashu swargadi kamaha tat sadhanadi anushtataraha bhinnaha avagamyante. So those who are desirous of all this village or cows or swarga, and for them there are different sadhanas have been prescribed, correct? And they have to do all those things. Using those means, they have to attain whatever they desire. All these things are separate. Therefore, how can you talk about Brahma Ekatvam? You are also Agama Virodha. Whatever you say is against the Shruti. Like this, they are now saying all three things you are against. Pratyaksha, Anumana and Agama. Therefore, now Bhashyakara. Atra Uchyate. So in this context, what does he say? Tetu Kutarka. Bhashyakara now goes into offensive. So he says, Tetu Kutarka Dushitanta Karanaha, Brahmanadi Varna Apashadaha, Anukampaniyaha, Agamartha Vichinna Sampradaya Buddhayaha iti. So with reference to them, what do we say? He says that their minds are antakarana, okay, has been polluted, corrupted by what? Kutarka, by illogic. Okay, so their logic is not proper. So their minds have been polluted by improper logic. And they are all really outcasts, he says, because Brahmanadi Varna Apashadaha means, why he is saying this? Because they are not following their own traditions properly. They have gone astray from their own sampradaya and they are talking like this. So they have gone away from the Vaidika sampradaya. So they do not understand the teaching methodology and what is being revealed by the Shruti properly. So they are all more like, they have gone astray, they are all outcasts, like that he says. Brahmanadi Varna Apashadaha. And anukampaniyaha also he says, they have to be pitied. You have to look at them with sympathy and compassion, because they are all ignorant only really. Why? Because in fact he says that why they are all this Brahmanadi Varna Apashadaha means they have gone, they are not, although they are born as a Brahmana, for example, or Kshatriya or Vaishya, whoever it is, any Varna, they are all, uh, everyone is entitled to this knowledge, correct? And for this knowledge, which for which you are entitled to gain that knowledge, you have to follow the Vaidika Dharma and also learn from a Sampradaya with properly. That has not happened. These people think that I am very intelligent, I am an intellectual. Independently, I can speculate about something and arrive at the truth and all that. So that is why he further says, Agamartha Vichinna Sampradaya Buddhayaha. So their minds have been separated from what is the real meaning of the Veda. So whatever the Veda is revealing, they have got separated from that. Their minds are no more dwelling on that. Their minds have been, that's what he already said, it has been corrupted by improper logic, improper thinking. Therefore, you have to have sympathy, compassion towards them. Okay, how can you say all this? You are very condescending. Okay, it's not correct. Like that, if somebody says, he says, that's why he himself raises that point. Katham, how can you say that? How can you say all these things? These people are all corrupted in their thinking, etc. So he now answers. श्रोत्रादि द्वारैः शब्दादिभिः प्रत्यक्षतः उपलभ्यमानैः ब्रह्मणः एकत्वं विरुध्यते इति वदन्तः वक्तव्याः. So he says, those who say that since I am cognizing different things through my sense organs, different sense objects I am cognizing, therefore everything is separate, and therefore Brahma Ekatvam has been contradicted, opposed, negated. If somebody says like that, they have to now tell us something. What? Because we are going to ask them some question. What is that question? Okay, so what is the question? Let us see. Kim shabdadinam bhedena akasha ekatvam viruddhyate iti. So now see, you are cognizing different sounds, different things you are cognizing in this world. Because of that, the ekatvam of the akasha, the space, the oneness of the space, is it violated or not? Is it negated or not? He asks. Because he is simply taking one example in the physical world itself of space. Is space one or not? Although you are perceiving so many things, the perception of all these objects, does it contradict the oneness of space? Now, if you say no, space is always one, then like this, Brahman also is one. Just because you are cognizing many objects does not mean that there are many Brahmans or anything, or its oneness has been somewhat violated or anything. Even for space, which is a subtle thing, we accept, but it is still a physical reality. Even for space, it is like that. Then what to talk about Brahman? Brahman's oneness is not going to be affected by cognition of many things. We cognize many things even in the dream. That does not affect anything, correct? So, if you say that the oneness of the space is not violated or contradicted by cognition of many things, then whatever we say also is not contradicted. So, na tarhi pratyaksha virodaha. So, whatever we say that Brahman alone is the reality, Brahman is the only reality, that is not contradicted by pratyaksha, because pratyaksha, in another context also we say this. What is our argument? We say that pratyaksha only reveals dharma, the different qualities. What about the dharmi, the one who has all the qualities? Pratyaksha does not reveal the nature of the dharmi. Pratyaksha can only reveal different qualities. It does not reveal the nature of the one who has those qualities or attributes, and whether only one dharmi is there or many dharmis are there. Correct? That also the perception cannot reveal. Even modern science also, it keeps on reducing everything, but finally they go to an observer and all that. Okay, they also talk about an observer. Of course, there are different views about who that observer is, but still some people at least talk about that there has to be a single observer and all that. Okay, otherwise they are not able to reconcile their own theories. So that means, how does it really violate anything? Because even, let us take even dream as an example. The many cognitions within the dream does not contradict the oneness of the dreamer. The dreamer is only one, correct? The entire dream world may have unlimited objects to be cognized, unlimited cognitions. Still, dreamer is one. It does not contradict the oneness of the dreamer. Like that, we can say that the sense perception does not really contradict the oneness of Brahman. It cannot. It cannot even contradict the oneness of space, let alone Brahman. Further, Anumana he goes now. Etcha uktam prati shariram shabdadi upalabdharaha dharma dharmayoscha kartaraha bhinna anumiyante tatha cha brahma ekatve anumana virodaha iti. So whatever you told already, that again he summarizes. What is that? In each sharira, the one who is cognizing all this sound, etc., correct, the sense objects, and one who is the karta, or one who is the doer, and by his doing he is creating this papa and punya, dharma and adharma, and these are all different people, correct, different selves, individual selves. Like this we can infer, you said, and because of this inference the oneness of Brahman is contradicted, is violated. So Anumana Virodha is there of this whatever inference I have done. If you say that Brahman is one, then it violates my Anumana. Like this you said, correct? Now here Bhashyakara initially does not address this directly. In fact, he is making fun of the ones who are making this inference. The Tarkikas themselves, he is making a lot of fun. So he asks, Binnaha kaihi anumiyante iti prashtavyaha. So he now goes in a different direction. He now asks, who is doing this inference? Because the inference is about the self. Understand this. That is why I think in one way what Bhashyakara, whatever he is doing here, is very, very relevant. He is trying to show that these people do not know anything about themselves really. They are doing all this intellectual discourses, whatever, or they take themselves as great intellectuals and all that, but they know nothing about their own selves. So he wants to point that out. So he is asking now, who is doing this Anuman? You say that we can do inference that there are many individual selves by looking at all these different body, mind, sense complexes and their activities. Who is doing this Anumana? Binnaha kaihi anumiyante. For whom is this inference happening? Iti prashtavyaha, it has to be asked. Now for this question, if you answer, so atha yadi bruyuhu, so thereafter if you say this, what? Sarvaihi asmabihi anumana kushalaihi iti. So you say, no, this inference is done by all of us who are all great in doing inference, all of us who are intellectuals, who are logicians. So Anumana Kushalaihi, we are all great intellectuals who are experts in doing inference, in logical thinking. If you say like that, again he is asking, Ke Uyam Anumana Kushalaha iti evam prishtanam kim uttaram. Who are these people who, or who are you who's claiming that you are an expert in logical inference? Okay, who has this expertise to do this inference. If I ask this, okay, if I have asked like this to you, what is your answer for that? Kim uttaram. Who is doing the inference? Basically, is asking this again. Then they have to say, because they have their own, the Nayayika has their own some theory about Atma. Okay, because they say that for them also body, mind, sense, everything is different. Atma is different, in fact. Atma has all these dharmas like this. They have their own some theory about Atma. And how a particular action takes place, karma, kriya takes place also, they have their own theory about all these things. So keeping that in mind only, Bhashyakara is asking this question. It's a trap for them. So their answer is what? Sharirendriya mana atma sucha pratyekam anumana kaushala pratyakhyane sharirendriya mana sadhana atmanaha vayam anumana kushalaha aneka karaka sadhyatvat kriyanam iti chet. So if I ask this question, what is your answer? Now they have to say like this. Why? Because according to their own theory only, there is sharira, physical body is there, indriya, all the senses are there, okay, then mana, mind, then atma is separate for them from all these things, and it is anupanu parimana and all that also. There are atma is atomic according to them, at least according to the Nayayika. So all these things, with reference to all these things, what? Pratyekam, Anumana, Kaushala, Pratyakhyane. Now each one of them can be, who is the one who is doing Anumana amongst all these things? That is the question first they have to answer, correct? Who is the one amongst this Sharira, Indriya, Mana and Atma? Who is the one who is doing the inference? Means they cannot say Sharira and all that, correct? Sharira is not even conscious. Even according to them, Sharira and all is Jada. So, but the conscious entity also by itself, it cannot do according to them. So they all have to come together. Only a complex or a grouping, okay, or a compound of all these things put together only is doing this inference. That is their theory. So, pratyekam, with reference to each of them, this body, mind, senses and self also, there is a question, who is the one who is doing this? Who is the expert? Who has the expertise to do Anumana? Means we have to say what they have to say like this: Sharirendriya manas sadhana atmanaha vayam anumana kushalaha. So the self, which is having the Sharira, Indriya and Manas as the sadhana or as the means or as the instruments, is the one which is doing, okay, which is doing this Anumana, which is the expert in doing this Anumana. That means this compound, which is made up of body, mind, senses and self also, Atma, individual self, all of them put together as a compound only is doing. Because what? According to them, aneka karaka sadhyatvat kriyanam. So all activities are all possible because of multiple factors. Okay, multiple factors have to come together, and then only an action can take place. That is what is called karaka, correct? Aneka karaka means multiple factors of action have to come together, and then only it is possible for an action to take place. And inference also is an action, correct? So that Bhashyakara further he explains. So if you say like this, then what is the implication of whatever they have said here? He takes that and dismantles their entire argument. In fact, shows that they don't know what self is really. So evam tarhi. So if you say in this manner, then what? Anumana kaushale bhavatam anekatva prasangaha. So the one who is the expert in inference, there is no one person or one self. It has become many now, because all of this compound put together only is doing the Anumana you are saying. Because according to you, what? That again he will explain. According to you, what? Aneka karaka sadhya hi kriya iti bhavadbihi eva abhyupagata. So by you only it was accepted already that every kriya has to have multiple factors. Okay. And according to you, the self is the one who is the doer, correct? But it cannot do by itself. It has to do along with other factors of action. All factors of action are doing inference together. Therefore, what? Tatra anumanancha kriya. So anumanam also is a kriya. And sa sharirendriya mana atma sadhanaihi karakaihi. So by the all these factors of action like body, mind, senses, and self also is one of the factors of action there. By all these factors of action only, this any kriya is done, including inference. So atma kartrika nirvartyata. So this whatever one is doing, it is all being done by all these multiple factors of action. It is established or done. Nirvartyata means it is done basically here. Ityetat pratignatam. So like this, now we can understand from whatever is your position on all these things. Therefore what? He says, Tatra vayam anumana kushalaha iti evam vadadbihi sharirendriya manas sadhana atmanaha pratyekam vayam aneke iti abhyugagatam syat. Therefore what? If you say all these things, whoever is saying that we are all great experts in logical reasoning, in this, what is the real implication of that sentence? So in this manner, what? Whoever is saying in this manner, vadadbihi, for them what? Sharirendriya manas sadhana atmanaha pratyekam vayam aneke. That means the actual one which is doing the anumana, all of them, all these things can claim as the self who is doing the anumana, because all of them are involved as a factor of action, correct? The body, the senses, the mind, and also oneself also. Okay, whatever they call as self, their atma. So it is aneka. It is not one self or anything. The one who is doing the inference itself is many according to yourself, because there are many factors of action. This has now been accepted by you. Iti abhyupagatam syat. Then he says, Aho anumana kaushalam darshitam apritya shringaihi tarkika bali vardaihi. So now he is making fun, in fact. He says that there is no one expert who is doing this inference, in fact, according to you. According to your own theories, where is this Anumana Kushala, the one who is the expert in doing logical inference? We have seen this great Anumana, the great Anumana Kushala means the expert in doing logical reasoning. Who is there? He says he is like a great bull, it seems. Only thing is he doesn't have a horn and a tail. So these logicians are all great bulls, like bulls. He says Tarkika Bali Vardaihi. Bali Vardaha means bull or an ox. So these Tarkikas are all like great bulls without any horn or any tail. Means he is making fun of them. He says their level of intellect is only up to that level, like a bull. So he further says why he is making fun like that. He says, Yohi Atmanameva na janati, sa katham mudaha tadgatam bhedam abhedam va janiya. You don't know yourself, in fact. Who is the one who is doing the inference only, you cannot say properly. So the one who does not even know oneself, how are you going to do any inference about whether there is one self or there are many selves and all that, correct? Whether there is any division in all these selves. So whether there is any division or not and all is, first you have to say what is this self properly. Even you don't know about self, you don't know anything about the self, then what are you going to say about whether there is only one self or there are many selves and all that? Doesn't make any sense. You cannot even So tatra kim anuminoti. So here, what inference can you do? In fact, you don't know about yourself to start with. Then what inference you can do about this self? And again, using what linga, he says, because any inference requires a linga, correct? Some indication, some, like even to say that there is fire, you have to see smoke. Smoke is the linga there, correct? A linga or hetu, we say. There has to be a hetu. With the hetu, only you can do anumana. So, in the case of Atma, now he is going in another track, Bhashyakara. He is trying to show that Atma does not have any linga. It does not have any attributes, any dharma, any guna, by cognizing which you can do any anumana about it. Correct? It is not even a pramana vishaya, in fact. That is the beauty. It is not pratyaksha vishaya. Atma is not pratyaksha vishaya. Therefore, how can you do any anumana then? If you are not even able to cognize any attribute about the Atma, on what basis you are going to do any inference? That is what now he is going in that direction. So he says, Kenava lingen, by which linga, by what hetu, by cognizing what are you going to do this inference? So further he explains that. He says, Nahi Atmanaha swataha bheda pratipadakam kinchid lingam asti. Atma itself does not have any attributes by cognizing which you can again do some inference about the Atma. Okay, even if Atma itself does not have, I can at least cognize something around the Atma. Like even we say that black holes are there. So how do you know? Because black hole means no light also passes through that. So directly we cannot perceive a black hole. Then how do you know? Means surrounding that you make some observations and all that, and then based on that you can infer that there is a black hole here. Even then we don't know exactly the nature of the black hole and all that. Okay, it's only speculation. So can we do something like that? Okay, can we do some other things we cognize, and based on that we do inference on Atma? Because Atma itself by itself does not have any linga or any attributes or any guna, any qualities, nothing is there. So first he mentions that swataha veda pratipadakam kinchit lingam asti ena lingena atma vedam sadhaye. So you don't have any quality or any attribute in the Atma itself by itself. Okay, in it Atma, its own attribute like that, nothing is there which you can cognize and do any inference and then establish that there are many Atmas. That is gone. Okay, then what? Further, yani lingani Atma Veda sadhanaya nama rupavanti upanyasyanti tani nama rupa gatani upadhaya eva atmanaha ghata karaka apavaraka भूचिद्राणि इव आकाशस्य यदा आकाशस्य भेदलिंगम पश्यति तदा आत्मनः अपि भेदलिंगम लभेत सः. So now this point he is trying to explain. So he says Atma doesn't have any quality of itself, correct, for you to see and then do any inference. Now that point he is explaining further. So any linga, okay, here any attribute you can take. Linga means, typically linga means a sign or an indication and all that. Any attribute which is going to help you to establish the difference in Atma. Atma bheda sadhanaya. So any linga you take has to have nama and rupa. Any attribute which will help you to establish the manyness of Atma has to have some name and some form. Nama rupa vanti upanyasyanti, because only nama rupa is perceived by pratyaksha also. Then tani nama rupa gatani upadhaya eva atmanaha upadhaya eva. So this nama rupas means what? You have to give up that correct, this nama rupa. This Atma does not have any nama rupa. Okay. because it is revealed that Atma does not have any names and forms. It is beyond names and forms. That is very clearly revealed by the Shruti. Okay. So, because the self is admitted, okay, as it is different from all names and forms. It does not have any names and forms. So, Namarupa Gatani Upadhaya Eva Atmanaha. And here, again, here he is giving the example of Akasha, space, to make this point clear. See, even space has all these upadhis, correct? Like ghata, pot, karaka. Karaka means, I think, a jug or a mug or whatever. Apavaraka means even some kind of this air hole and all can be there, correct? Even if you make a pot, the pot can have air holes within that. That is also space. Or bhuchidra, he says. You have some holes in the earth also. These are all what? They are all some upadhi or conditioning factors of Akasha. But by looking at them, can you infer that there are many space? You cannot, correct? By looking at the properties or attributes of the conditioning factors or upadhis, you cannot do any inference on the one which is being conditioned. So you cannot do any inference with reference to space only. Then what about Atma then? So like whatever Bedalinga you see for Akasha, he says, Yada Akashasya Bedalingam Pashyati, Tada Atmanaha Api Bedalingam Labeta Saha. So the one who sees Bedalingam, okay, the indications for establishing Veda in Atma is like the one who is seeing indications for establishing Veda in space, in divisions in space. So in whichever way you do Anumana, you cannot divide the space into many. Similarly, Atma also doesn't have any, even the attributes and all which you say, they are all only Upadhi Gata. Okay, they are all in the Upadhi only. They are all only Nama Rupa, and Atma is beyond all names and forms. Therefore, Nahi Atmanaha Parataha Vishesham Abhyugachadbihi Tarkika Shataihi Api Vedalingam Atmanaha Darshayitum Shakyate. So, Parataha Vishesham Abhyupagachadbihi. So, for the Atma, these Tarkikas say that Atma has some dharmas. Okay. Like even Sukha, Dukkha and all they say are all Atma Dharma. So there are other attributes which they attribute to the Atma. They accept all these things. Even though they do that, still they cannot really give any linga for doing this Anumana that there are many Atmas. There is a division in the Atma like this. Even hundreds of logicians or Tarkikas cannot establish that. They cannot show it that Atma is many. All their arguments are all based on attributes which are themselves names and forms, and these attributes are not even Atma's attributes to start with, and Atma is beyond all names and forms. So whichever way we look at it, no Tarkika can establish Veda in the Atma doing inference. And Swatastu Durad Apanitam Eva Avishayatvad Atmanaha, and Atma by itself does not have any attributes. Okay, so based on that also you cannot, even Swagata Veda also you cannot establish. See, Veda itself we look at it in three ways. That is why even in the Chandogya, Ekam Eva Advitiyam, correct? Three words are there. Atma is one. Means you can say there is one Pashu. Then what? There is one Pashu, but again, if you see one more, you can say there is one more is there, correct? So one type of Beda is what? Again, when you say one Pashu, this Pashu is separate from one horse. So there is one cow, one horse. If I say like that, let us start from there. Then what is the Beda? There is a Beda between two different categories or species, correct? Vijatiya Beda, that is called. So Atma does not have Vijatiya Beda. Okay. So Atma is one, means it is one. That's all. There is no second thing which is other than, which is a separate species or category or anything. It is the only reality. At that level, Atma alone is there. You cannot count anything else. One. But that alone is not enough, correct? Vijatiya Beda is not there. What if many Atmas are there? Sajatiya Beda. So Ekam Eva. One, only one. So there is no more, many Atma also you cannot say. Like when you say one cow, two cow you cannot say. Like that here also one Atma means two Atma. You cannot say. When you say only one cow is there means only one cow is there. There is no second cow at all. So Sajatiya Beda also is not there. Okay, fine. But cow itself has many parts, correct? Head, horn, dewlap. That is there only in Indian cows. Okay. Then udder. Whatever. That is called what? Swagata Beda. Beda within one himself. So there we are looking at different attributes of the cow and say that there is Beda within the cow. Correct? There. Even that you cannot do with Atma. There is no Swagata Beda also. Understand that. Because in itself, it doesn't have any attributes, any guna. It is nirguna, nishkala. Okay. It is partless whole. It doesn't have any qualities. Therefore, it is avishaya also. It is not an object of any means of knowledge. It is not an object of knowledge. It is an eternal subject, in fact. Therefore, in itself, also you don't have anything to see any difference in it, any division in it. That is durad apanitam eva, he says. That is by a long way it is gone. You cannot establish that at all. Therefore, what? Yadyat paraha atma dharmatvena abhyupagacchati tasya tasya namarupakatva abhyupagamat namarupabhyam cha atmanaha anyatva abhyupagamat. So finally he summarizes the same thing. He says whatever the different attributes which you perceive, correct? And you think that they are all Atma Dharma because this Nayayikas, Tarkikas say it's all Atma Dharma. It is all a quality of the Atma. So as the quality of Atma, different things which you perceive, okay, and you accept that, but they are all what? They are all Nama Rupa only, names and forms. Tasya Sasya Nama Rupakatva Abhyubhagamat. So they have names and forms. They are all only names and forms. It is very well accepted by everybody. And the important thing is what? Nama Rupa Bhyamcha Atmanaha Anyatva Abhyubhagamat. All names and forms are different from Atma. Atma transcends all the names and forms. Therefore, how can you do any inference based on all these things? And again, he quotes Shruti also to say, how can you say that Atma is beyond all names and forms? Okay, I am not saying that. Shruti is saying that. Akasho vai nama rupa rupayoho nirvahita te yadantara tad brahma anena jivena atmana anupravishya. Next one. Nama rupe vyakaravani. These are all Chandogya Upanishad. Akasho vai nama, so that which is known, prasiddha, that which is very well known as Akasha. And what did it do? It is the one which has manifested all these names and forms. It is the cause of all these names and forms. Nama rupayoho nirvahita means it is separate from Nama Rupa, correct? Nama Rupas are manifested from this Akasha. Even when there is no Nama Rupa also, Akasha is there. Here Akasha is the For Brahman, the word is used for Brahman, this word Akasha. Akasha Stallingat, like this Brahma Sutra also discusses. So in this context, the word Akasha is actually used for Brahman because like Akasha, Brahman also is subtle, and Brahman also cannot be divided into many, like even Akasha. That is why the word Akasha is used as an indicatory word for Brahman. And Brahman is the one which has manifested all these names and forms. And in that names and form, all these names and forms are there in this Brahman also. It says, Te yadantara tad Brahma. All these Nama Rupas, they are there within which? That is Brahman. That means they don't have any independent existence. Understand that. All the names and forms are contained within Brahman, but Brahman itself is free from all names and forms. That is the beauty. That means all names and forms are mithya. Correct? Brahman is independently existent. Names and forms are not like that. They don't have an independent existence at all. They are, like you say, wherever there is pot, clay is there. Correct? But wherever there is clay, pot need not be there. Understand that. That is the kind of thing we have to understand here. So the Shruti makes it very clear. Similarly, Nama Rupe Vyakaravani Anena Jivena Atmana Anupravishya. This is a Pravesha Shruti in Chandogya. Very famous. Nama Rupe Vyakaravani. So this Brahman alone entered, as though entered as this individual self, and then it manifested or differentiated itself as all these names and forms. Okay. Iticha, so all these things have been shown. So from this, what do we understand? Utpatti pralayatmakehi nama rupe. So all these names and forms, they are born and they are gone. Okay, they are created and destroyed. They are manifested and they become unmanifest. They are resolved. And Brahman is different from that. Tad vilakshanancha Brahma. Brahman is always there. It is Satyam. Sadeva Satyam. Like this, Chandogya also says. Satyam is an ontological term for us. Correct? It tells us the status of reality of a particular Vastu. And Sadvastu alone is Satyam. That alone is there always. Unchanging reality. Therefore, what ataha anumanasya eva avishayatvat kutaha anumana virodaha. So this Brahman is not an anumana vishaya at all. It is not an object of knowledge, in fact. Then how are you going to do any anumana about that? Therefore, there cannot be any anumana virodha with reference to whatever is revealed. Only Shruti is revealing Brahman, and we have to go along with whatever it is revealing. Yetena agama virodha pratyuktaha. With this, agama virodha also is gone, because all these things are only mithya, correct? All these things are only nama rupa. All the karma which is being talked about by the karma kanda also, karta, bhokta, karaka, karma phala, correct? Doer, enjoyer, different factors of action, results of actions, all of them are names and forms. They don't have any independent existence. Brahman alone is. Therefore, there is no contradiction or anything. So Agama Virodha also is dismissed with whatever I quoted already. Therefore, the Brahma Ekatvam does not contradict Pratyaksha, Anumana or Shruti. And finally, he answers one more point also. Yad Uktam. So whatever was said, what is that? Brahma Ekatve Yasmai Upadeshaha. If there is only Brahman alone is there, then to whom do you give this teaching? Who is being taught? Yasya cha Upadesha Grahana Phalam. Who will have the result of this teaching? By knowing this, the result of that knowledge is for whom? All these questions are there, correct? And therefore, if Brahman alone is there, there is nobody to teach, there is nothing to be taught, and there is nobody to receive the teaching also and get the fruit of that knowledge. Therefore, what tad abhavat ekatva upadesha anarthakyam. Therefore, you cannot say Brahman alone is there. It is all anartha if you say like that. Okay. Here Bhashyakara is going to show two different things. Tadapi na, that also is not true. Why? Aneka karaka sadhyatvat kriyanam kaschodhyaha bhavati. So you only said that any kriya is done by many different factors of action, correct? For an activity to happen, many different factors of action have to come together and they only perform this action. Therefore, who is being questioned in this case? We don't say that many things are there. We don't say even action is there really, in fact. Kriya also is mithya for us. Brahman is nishkriyam, in fact. So we don't accept the reality of even activities and action and all that. So who is being questioned like this? We ask. If you say, no, if I know that there is only Brahman, let us say, ekasmin brahmani nirupadike na upadeshaha. So if there is only Brahman, which is nirupadika, which doesn't have any upadhi and all that, upadhi also is mithya, correct? Therefore, there cannot be any teaching. If you say that, okay, but not only teaching, he says, na upadeshaha, na upadeshta, na cha upadesha grahana palam, tasmad upanishadan cha anatakyam ityetat abhyugagatam eva. So if you say for the one who knows, one who has this Brahma Jnanam, really there is no teacher, there is no taught, there is no teaching. We accept that. In fact, Brhadaranyaka itself will later say Veda becomes Aveda. Veda also becomes Aveda. So once you have woken up from the dream, what is the use of the dream tiger which has woken you up, correct? Veda is like a dream tiger. In the dream, the tiger was chasing you and you desperately, you run, you fall down and the tiger is about to pounce on you and you wake up. Then what about the dream tiger which woke you up means? That is also equally in the dream, correct? Like that, we accept that. We have no problem. Paramarthika drishtya, if you look at it at an ultimate reality, from the standpoint of ultimate reality, there is no teacher, there is no student, there is no teaching. All of these things are only mithya. But if you stick to your own position, that the many factors of action have to come together to accomplish an activity, and there are many atmas who have all this dharma and all that, then you require the teaching. Teaching is required for you, correct? So he says, Atha aneka karaka vishaya anartakyam chodhyate na swataha apyugagama virodhat atmavadinam. So if you accept that there are many factors of action and there are many atmas, then this teaching is for those people only who are claiming that. Okay, it is very relevant, in fact. It is very, very relevant for the people, you people who are questioning, in fact, me. Don't question me. In fact, this teaching is only for you. That's what he says. Because you have accepted yourself that there are many Atma. You have your own notions about Atma and all that. That is what we are addressing. That is what the Upanishad has to address. Upanishad need not address me anymore because I have already understood the nature of this self as limitless Brahman. I don't see any relevance of it for me anymore. But it is still relevant for you, in fact. Therefore, what? Tasmat tarkika chata bhata raja apravesyam abhayam durgam idam alpa buddhya agamyam shastra guru prasada rahitaischa. So this teaching is not very easy for all these people. That's what he is pointing out. Therefore, what? For all these logicians, okay, it is apravesham, he says. It doesn't enter them, in fact. This teaching cannot enter all these tarkikas. And then he is using some words for them. Interesting words. Chata, bata, raja and all that. Okay. So these people who are all like, they are not really telling the truth. Okay, let me put it. This Brahman does not enter them. In fact, it is Durgam. It is like a fort which cannot be entered very easily. Okay. And Alpa Buddhi Agamyam. They are not very intellectual, really speaking. They are only Alpa Buddhi, he says. And they do not have Shastra Guru Prasada. All these people who lack, because their ego is so much that they don't want to go and learn from a guru also, from a sampradaya with, then how will they know all these things? He cannot enter this teaching, cannot enter the buddhi of all these people. And he is quoting even Shruti there. Only little bit is there, but anyway, we'll continue this next week. So I think almost we are finishing this Brahmana, and we'll start the other Brahmana next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Dhanyavadah.
Thank you.